I had just booked two $7,000 projects and was not excited about it at all. I was like, this is not good. Like, they're going to find out. I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to have to refund all this money. And I think that was why I decided I need to take this course now in the time that I've been in semester 8. So I've booked 2. And both of those ended up being 10K projects. I'm like finally in a place where I feel excited about the future and I don't feel so scared and unsure anymore.
Welcome to the Unapologetic Designer Podcast, where we chat controversial design topics and expose the raw truth about life as a designer. Welcome back to the podcast. I have a recent Design Biz Academy University graduate who has accomplished some real big things recently and is probably one of the, I don't even know what to say. Like, it took you years to join. So you were like the one person, like I knew you and knew everything about you and everything about your business before you even enrolled in DBA.
Yeah. It's been a long road coming, and I'm actually still in shock that I did it this semester because, like you said, I feel like every single semester for the last 2.5, maybe even 3 years, I would message you guys and I'm like, nope, I'm signing up this year. I promise. I'm signing up this semester. I promise. And then just never did until recently.
Yeah. Well, do you want to further introduce who you are, what your business name is, and all those details?
Yes. So my name's Alyssa. My design studio is Lemon Squeezy Brand Design. I changed the name at the start of 2024. Formerly, we were Little Fella Design. And that kind of goes into my backstory of how I even got here, which is another crazy ride.
Well, you know I'm here for it. Let's hear it.
So I started my own business in 2019. The year prior, I was working as a news producer for a local news station. I had done that for 2 years out of college because out of college, that was like my dream. I wanted to be a journalist and be the next Ryan Seacrest or one of the likes of them. And I was pursuing that and started to really fall out of love with it. Like, I wasn't being able to be creatively fulfilled. And I've just always been a creative person at heart. Like, I love crafting. I love all that kind of stuff. And news is not a place to be creative. It's more serious. So I started doing wood signs, making them with my husband in the garage. And in 2019, we decided to launch an Etsy shop, which we grew into something much bigger than we ever thought it would be. It put us in a position for my husband to leave the military, put us in a position to start our family. Like, it did a lot of great things for us. It was really successful. And I thought I was going to do that forever until I had my son in 2021. I had a real tough time postpartum. I think I had a little bit of postpartum depression, but then also my son had some health issues like allergies and things like that. So for the whole first 4 months of his life, I could not put him down. Like, he would not lay down for naps or anything. So like I had to hold him. And I was like, there's no way I can keep running this sign business. Like, I can't use power tools with a baby that doesn't want to lay down. Yeah. I can't do that. And I was really scrambling with what the future of my business was going to look like because I couldn't offer that. If you followed me at the time, I was like launching new products and new product ideas probably every day. I did stickers. I did digital downloads. I was like, oh, let me do some wholesale home decor. I was doing everything and nothing was sticking. And I was really panicking because I thought, this is it. My business dreams are over. I'm done. I'm fried up.
It's the end.
I can't do anything. I've dried up completely. And like every business owner out there, I was like, you know what I'm missing? It's not a clear strategy or direction. I'm obviously just missing a fresh logo. That's my problem. So I was like, let me design a logo for myself. And that'll be the answer to all my problems. It'll give me the spark I need.
Kind of was the answer to all your problems.
It was, but in a way that I wasn't even expecting, which is great. So I had posted that to my followers on Instagram. And at the time, I had kind of grown a really big community of other handmade business owners. So, of course, they saw the logo and were intrigued. And I got a bunch of inquiries just from me redoing it, or like, hey, can you help me with my logo? Because I need a rebrand too. And I was like, Yeah, sure. I can totally help you with that. Having no idea anything about professional graphic design or brand design or anything. And I was just like, yeah, sure, I can do that. No problem. I was designing logos on Procreate and everything that you shouldn't do as a professional logo designer, I was doing. And I actually had posted a video to TikTok of just showing off one of my many creations.
Oh no.
And it went viral, but for all the wrong reasons. I think it hit 1 million views and had like almost 800 comments that were just roasting me completely and saying like, oh, anybody with the iPad thinks they can be a graphic designer. That's not a logo. That's the worst logo I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was like, oh, my heart. But that kind of gave me the little kick I needed. And from there, I just kind of dove headfirst. Through all of those comments was actually how I found you. Because prior to that, I
Oh,
had,
okay. Shout out to the TikTok roast then.
yes, it's because you were really big into doing all of the roasts at the time. And people were tagging you to roast my logo that I made. And I was like, oh, well, let me just follow her because she knows what she's doing. She's in the space. I'll follow her. You never roasted me, thank God.
Oh yeah, no,
But
I would never do that. I don't like that. If somebody doesn't ask me to roast their logo, I'm not going to do it. There's like a respectful way to do it and there's not a respectful way. But anyways, continue.
yeah, and I will say that through all of those, negative critique, there were people who were very constructive about it, which is what I really appreciated because that was where I learned like, okay, what tutorials should I be watching? I had some designers who did reach out to me and like send me courses and stuff. They're like, please take this course, get Illustrator for the love of God, stop making logos on Procreate, please. And I really appreciate that. It was much better than the other people on there. But that is what kind of gave me, because I wanted to prove people wrong. And I was like, I'm going to learn this. And for that whole year, I started learning brand design and then I started learning web design and now most recently brand strategy. So I've really kind of grown and evolved so much since then.
Yeah, so where did the Brief Collective enter the chat?
Yeah. So, like I said, from that experience and everybody tagging you, I had started following your page and I found you on Instagram and you were sharing about the Brief Collective. And I was like, let me look into what this is all about. So I started following you guys on there, joined obviously the Facebook group and everything, and just kind of was like a quiet follower of you guys for a little while, just kind of learning, hearing what you guys had to say, taking all the free content in that I could. And I learned and gained so much just from the free content that I was like, maybe I'll take this course. And then I stopped being a quiet follower and started messaging you guys. And I'd be like, this is my semester. I'm signing up this time, I swear. And each semester would go on and on and on. And I just never pulled the trigger on it for many different reasons, whether it was not the right time financially or it wasn't the right time mindset wise. There was just always something that prevented me from actually doing it until this past semester. But I think I was messaging you guys like semester 3. I feel like it was
Yeah.
very early on.
And you just graduated semester 8. So that's how
Yeah.
long it took. But it was like I was legitimately getting pissed off and not necessarily at you, but at the situation because I'm like, she needs this. She's going to do so well. Like she needs to join our program. Why is she not doing it? Like I just knew you already had such a good foundation going that it was a no-brainer for us that you needed to be there. So what were you charging? Like you said you started taking these courses and like you started improving your skills. What were you charging at that time?
The time when I blew up that had that viral moment, it was at 50. And one of the biggest, hardest life lessons I've learned is I gained a lot of traction and a lot of customers from that viral moment at that $50 price point. And I think that's what kind of set me up to have a really not so great mindset over the last couple of years is because I had all of that success. I think I did over like 100 individual logos at that $50 price point. And I thought,
Oh shit,
like,
I made it.
I was like, yes, I'm doing something. I know what I'm doing. These people love it. And the reality is they love that price point.
Mm.
And I did have the skills, but I thought that the skills is what was bringing me all of that traction until I started raising my prices. And that's when it started to really creep in of like, I don't know if my skills are necessarily what's selling to people as much as that $50 price point was. And I slowly started increasing it. It was like 50 for a logo. Then I was like, oh, I'll start doing branding, as I called it. It was really brand identities, but like the Etsy brand kit version
Mm-hmm.
of it. And I was offering those and I charged like 250, I think was the max for that. And it was like 2 to 3 logos, a color palette, and some fonts. And I thought that was a brand. Then I started learning more and slowly but surely started to raise my prices. I was still getting good traction. Even when I got up to like the $1,000, $2,000 mark and I started, doing websites and stuff, I still had good momentum until I decided to raise it to a more high ticket client because, as you know, with the lower tier pricing, your clientele is not always the most respectful of your time sometimes, or you're doing all of this boatload of work and not really seeing the same return on investment. But as soon as I decided, no, I want to try to do what all these other designers are doing, because obviously people love me. I'm getting all this traction. Let me just do it. I raised my prices. I think I was charging in total, because it was 3,000 for branding and 3,000 for web. So a total of a $6,000 package. I had raised my prices and I did that in May or June. I set that price and for a year had absolutely zero clients, because for the first time at that higher price point, I realized all this time I have no idea, or had no idea, how to actually sell anything. Even when I was selling signs, like my work just kind of spoke for itself. And that also contributed to this really awful mindset of like, this is just a fluke. This is just pure luck for me. I just have got really lucky with my social media, because at the end of the day, I am not a good saleswoman, at least not the one I thought I was. Because when it came to actually having to sell why my pricing is, why what I offer is valuable, I didn't know how to do it. And for a whole year, zero crickets. I'd get people maybe to inquire or ask me about the price. I'd tell it to them and they'd say, sorry, I can't do that. Or there would just be nothing in my inbox at all. And that really started to kind of, I think, impact me more. And that's why the last couple of semesters, I really was like, no, it wasn't a financial thing. It was more I don't think I deserve to be in the same room as all of these designers who are taking this course. Like, I obviously am not good enough to be here, because I can't even book a client on my own without having a viral moment. So over the last year, I've had to do like a lot of therapy, but also just kind of like secretly following all of the mindset stuff that you guys have been doing. And it wasn't until in August, I finally got an inquiry, and it was for the biggest package I have ever had in my life. And I was like, this is like my last chance. If I don't get this, like, I'm just going to quit. Like, there's nothing else I can do at this point. I was like, I've tried everything. And I was already on the verge. Like, you can ask my husband, for like the last few months before I joined, I was like, I'm just tired. I think I'm just overworked. I'm burnt out. I don't want to work anymore. Just let me bake bread and I'm good to go. I don't want to work anymore. But that inquiry came in. I think it came in at the exact moment I needed it to, because had it not, I definitely think I would have just thrown in the towel. But it came in and she actually booked the project, and I was just like, is this really happening? And instead of like being excited about it, I was instantly filled with so much dread of like, I'm about to be found out. She's about to realize she just booked somebody that has no idea what they're doing. Like, big imposter syndrome of like, all right, this is not something to celebrate because they're going to catch on. And then 2 weeks later, I got another inquiry, again, booking the same thing. So I had just booked 2 $7,000 projects and was not excited about it at all. I was like, this is not good. Like, they're going to find out. I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to have to refund all this money. And I think that was why I decided I need to take this course now. Mostly for the mindset work, because I knew booking these 2 big projects should have been something that was exciting and to celebrate. And I was like, I don't feel that way. And I don't feel like that's normal, because the client believes that I can do it, and they book me because they believe in what I offer and in me, but I don't.
Mm.
And I was like, I need to do it now. The funds are here. It needs to happen. There's no excuse. And then I hopped on a call with you guys literally like a week later. And I was like, I'm going to do it, but I just want to see their face. And you guys made me do it on the call,
I
which
was
was
like, she's
nice because
not
I
getting
probably
away.
would
She's
have backed
not
out of it.
leaving.
And you guys were like, no, right now. We're not hanging up until you do it. And I was like, okay, signed up. And I so needed that. And it's just been crazy ever since.
I love everything that you just said. I think that that is, I mean, you touched on a lot of different things. And these are things that, I mean, I've had a lot of designers on the podcast, and I don't think that I have ever had someone come on and be able to articulate exactly why a designer could book a big project and not feel good about it or excited. I think that that's so powerful that you were able to describe why and like recognize that that was like a deeper rooted issue in
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Because so many designers are like, well, it's a marketing problem, or it's a this problem, or it's like all of these other things that are more external. But you were able to really recognize that internal challenge that you needed to overcome. And thank God that those clients came at that time, because it was just like divine timing. The universe was like, Alyssa, you need to join them now. Here you go. Here's everything right in order. And going through the program, talk to me more like what your mindset had to have shifted, because now we're in a whole different place. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I definitely think timing is everything. Like, I think everything happens when it's supposed to and happens for a reason. I think last summer I felt like I was doing really good. And I was going to join then, and something in me just said, don't do it. You're not ready. And as soon as that semester started, I had my complete 1 year dry spell. So I feel like I thought I was ready, but the mindset was totally out of whack. And I felt like I was like walking around like somebody who seemed like they had it all together, but in reality, I felt like I was like undercover and like didn't really know what I wanted out of all of this. At the start of the year, I worked with another mentor. He was actually on the podcast from Uncommon Proud. I worked
Eric.
with Eric on, he helped me with my new rebranding with the lemon squeezy and everything. And even at that time going through it, I felt like I was like, it was pretend motivation. I did get like everything for the most part out, but I do feel like even looking back, reading like what my mission statement was, your headspace as a business owner plays such a huge role in your brand, in your messaging, and everything. Because looking back at what I've created now through DBA and what I created back then, I can so tell that I was just not confident in what I was saying, who I was trying to attract. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, and you can totally tell. Versus now, I feel like I'm much more clear about who I want to be as the business owner, who I want to attract to my business. But once I had signed up, I instantly felt like, okay, I'm making this big change. Like, there's no going back now. I obviously did this because I want to be here. I want this to work, even though the last couple of months I've been contemplating just living out my life as a stay at home mom, which love that, by the way. That's my first job. But I was like so content on just maybe I'm just not cut out to be a businesswoman. And it is what it is. But as soon as I had hit pay, hung up the call with you guys, I just kind of like felt this like weight lifted off of me of like, no, like you deserve to be here. And you did this because deep down, you know you should be here. And from the beginning, a lot of inside the course, like everything in the course, obviously, chef's kiss. It's amazing. The little, all the resources you get, the information, but it was more the journal prompts, the group calls, the community. All of that is the key stuff that I feel like I was missing.
Mm.
For me, I had come into the whole graphic design space, like feeling completely alone. I had built such a huge community around my wood sign business of handmade business owners and crafters and things. And once I switched over, those people were still there, but that like sense of community of having people to lean on went away because they didn't do that kind of work. They're business owners, but they don't relate to the graphic designer struggle, the high end value client struggle. Like they didn't get that. So I was completely alone and didn't really have anybody to lean on. And I think that's been what really has kind of helped me a lot through this journey is the people that I've met through semester 8, they're all so supportive. They're all so encouraging. They'll still tell you like if you're doing something silly, they're like, "Oh, maybe don't do that." But it's like in a friendly way that I didn't think was possible because I had such a negative experience coming into the industry. So that shifted my mindset. The journal prompt shifted it. And as I started going through each module, going through each call, I kind of felt this like something like just kind of clicked, I feel like, into place to where I had just recently a discovery call. I went on the call with the person, and for the first time in that call, I felt confident in what I was selling to them, what I was saying to them, and felt like I was selling myself in a way that like felt more authentic to me. Whereas before I would hop on a call and just feel so unsure. And I think the client could sense that. And that's why I wasn't ever booking anything with them. And I would go into it so determined, like just so scared that I needed them to work with me that they could say, I want you to do my entire brand identity, but also why don't you just build my storefront for me? And I would have said, yes, sign me up. I'll get my tool belt. Like, let me help you. I would throw everything in for free because I was so just not confident in myself. Like, I wanted you to book with me so badly. I would do this, 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 this. Just sign with me. And I think that scatterbrain mentality in it would scare them away because they're like, this girl doesn't really seem too confident about what she's doing.
It's like a
Versus now,
desperate energy. It's like
a
a needy
desperate
energy.
energy of somebody who's very unsure. And I'm not about to spend 7K on somebody who's not really sure what they're doing, is the energy I think they could sense.
Hmm.
Versus my last, well, it's now 2, but I had a discovery call with somebody, hopped on the call, and instantly I just kind of got on and I was like, I'm just going to talk to you. This is just a chat. You don't have to book with me if you don't want to. I'm going to
Yes.
tell you what I do. Well, do you think maybe like that price is no, that's just what it is. And it was like, I feel like they could sense like, oh, okay, you know what? I actually really like what this girl's all about. And they booked. I've had 3 discovery calls in the time that I've been in semester 8. So that's 1 a month. And out of those 3, I've booked 2. And both of those ended up being 10K projects each, which is just still so crazy to say. And when they actually signed the contract, it wasn't this feeling of dread that I normally felt. It was like this, hell yeah, I did that. That is me. I'm so excited to work with them. I deserve that. I'm going to own it. I'm going to tell it to the world. And it felt so freeing in that moment. And that was when I was like, okay, what I'm doing here is working. And this is why semester 8 was supposed to happen.
And you literally booked those two, like, didn't you book them both within like a 30-day time frame, like right before graduation?
I did. I did. It was funny how it worked out because I was in the middle of like negotiating with one, and I was like, I'm not sure if they're even gonna, if this is gonna work out. And like, my biggest thing was I was gonna actually pull more, and I had talked myself out of it because I think I still, in a way, had that little like mental roadblock of that bigger number isn't possible because I haven't, it's a big jump from what I had originally, the last project I booked. That's a huge jump. It felt unachievable. So I was like, let me go somewhere in the middle. And then I kind of like will work my way out. So I know it's possible to get there. So I did end up going down to the 10K mark for that one. And as I was like in the negotiation of that one, I got a discovery call and another client, same thing, booked that proposal for 10K. And they were like, no, let's do it. And she didn't even hesitate. Like she made me wait 24 hours and responded with a, let's do this. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And then the other client got back and was like, yeah, we're ready to go. Let's do it. I was like, this is, and now I feel like the ceiling has been shattered and I can go to any number I want. And it's just, it's the best.
Yeah, and I remember you typing the long message in our chat, and like I immediately screenshotted it and put it everywhere because I was so freaking proud, and I was like, you gotta go come on the podcast right now. But yeah, I'm not surprised at all because you, again, were somebody who had such a clear foundation. And I think it's really, again, it's just crazy that you had booked high ticket clients before, but even then it didn't matter because you didn't feel like it was a good thing and you didn't feel still in the headspace even though you had done that and you still chose to join. And now we're here and you've booked 20K worth of projects and I can't believe you're finally a freaking graduate. It's been years in the making.
I know. And I think for me, the big like solidifier for me when that I knew like I was on a path of like positive growth is I think my biggest hesitation has always just been that insecurity of I kind of just jumped into this. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm, there's so many more talented designers out there. And I think that was also my biggest hesitation coming in is like, I already know there's like some really talented, amazing, super creative people coming into this course. I'm not doing it. And that fear was still there when I came in. And I think the realization hit me halfway through where like, there's always going to be somebody who is more talented than you. There's always going to be somebody who is a better business person than you. But that does not mean that I'm talentless or that I don't know how to run a business. And I think having that realization is kind of what opened the floodgates for me to not really get so caught up in trying to compare myself to everybody else's journey, which is a big thing that I always do. I'm a stay-at-home mom with my toddler all day long, so I am more limited than most people, and I would see that as such a negative thing. And I think for me, seeing that just because I'm doing something differently doesn't mean that somebody's doing it better. They might be doing it better now, but I can get there. I can learn from these people who are more creative, more business savvy, more all of this. But it doesn't mean that I don't have the skills. And I think I would tell myself so often that I don't have the skills to be here, or I'm not very smart and business savvy to be here. And halfway through, I just kind of felt that kind of little shift in my mind of like, no, yes, some of these girls are like absolutely incredible and blowing it out of the park, but that doesn't mean that I don't have the skills on my own. And they're also supportive, and the coaching is also supportive. The late night calls for sorority, those are so much fun. I just felt like I found that sense of community, but also the coaching mindset and all that like played so much into building up my confidence enough to be able to get on that next call. And no matter what happens, whether they take it or not, it's not a reflection of me. It's just not the right time. And yeah, it's just been such a crazy journey. And I'm so excited to see what happens now that I've graduated and I have all those skills. I'm like finally in a place where I feel excited about the future, excited about what I'm going to start implementing. And I don't feel so scared and unsure anymore.
I also think it's really interesting that you say you didn't feel like you were quote unquote good enough to be in our course. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say that in that aspect before, but I also kind of think that's like social media again playing tricks on people. Before we started talking, I think you had referenced Hannah at Scene Design Studio. And when she joined, I remember when she joined, I mean, she was no formal design education. I mean, she was just getting started, but now she's huge and she totally like took off after DBA, but you don't really see the behind the scenes of these designers. Like you just see little snippets. So it's really easy to think, well, oh, everyone's so much further ahead. When in reality, a lot of people come into our program at all sorts of different levels. We've had people who are total beginners. We've had people who are intermediate. Like it's crazy the range. So that's interesting that you even had that thought, like, I'm not good enough. And you were one of the most advanced students we've ever had.
I know. I really talked about that's why whenever somebody asks me about like social media or anything, I'm like, I feel like everybody's waiting for that viral moment. And if I could take it back, I think I would choose not to have that. If I could learn all the lessons that I've learned without having that moment, I 100% would take that route because I feel like having that moment of virality and going into it that way, I instantly just felt so alone in the space, felt like I didn't belong in the community because these people are obviously seeing that I'm a big amateur. What am I doing? And I did meet some designers through that experience, but then I'm watching their journeys and had a hard time with the concept of like slow progress is still progress. That was actually my motto on my business, on my vision board for this year, because you mentioned Hannah. I love Hannah. Me and her both started following each other at like almost the exact same time. and our journeys started at the exact same time. And she joined DBA a lot sooner than I did. And from the outside, I was watching her and I was so proud of her and like seeing all this success she was having. And I was like, why isn't that happening to me? You know, I'm getting these customers, but I'm not getting these big ticket customers like she is. Like she's having all this success. And her especially, I compared myself the most to, because then she was a mom and now she has another one, which is so exciting. And I was just stuck in this place of she's doing it. Why am I not doing it? And it took a long time for me to be okay with everybody's journey is different and it's going to move at different speeds, but it does not mean that you're any less than the person who's ahead of you. It just means watch what they're doing and learn from them and see what you can bring into your own life from their life to get to that point too. This whole year, I've been conditioning myself to not care so much about what people think about me on social media, not compare my journey to anybody else's. So when I got to this point of semester 8, I was good there. And I knew if I came into it, I'd see all these designers who are doing really amazing things and it wouldn't impact me in a negative way, but it would add to my growth and my positive energy in the other way. So yeah, social media is definitely hard, and starting out your graphic design journey with such a big moment like that is not recommended, but in the end, it got me to where I am. So
we all have some kind of story like that to some extent. Mine's the lady who said I looked like a 14-year-old in my profile picture and needed my work to be better and blah blah. Like we all have some moment. They're different in different ways, but like that's what makes our industry the industry, right? Like we're all undervalued or get a lot of shit talked to us or whatever it is, because that is the creative industry. And that's why, you know, I'm here doing this podcast. I'm here with you. We have DBA, like we're trying to change it. And every single person that's come through our program is a testament of like what's possible when you put in the work and also have that mindset behind it. So where can people connect with you online? It has been so great hearing your perspective, and I'm really glad you were open to coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I feel like so honored to have been here with you and then just in the same space that all these other incredible business people have been on. And I just want to keep growing so I can achieve the same things that they have. But you can find me at Lemon Squeezy Brands on all social media platforms or at lemonsqueezybrands.com. And I love to connect, so follow me. We can chat about all the mistakes we've made.
If you want to hear more designer success stories, go ahead and subscribe to the Unapologetic Designer podcast. If you want to join our design community at the Brief Collective or enroll in Design Biz Academy, information on how to do that can be found in the description.